the original people of this land. We have been reclassified, but we was already living here when the Spanish, when the French, when the British came here. We've been here for thousands and thousands of years, not only in America, but in Canada, in Mexico, Central America, the Caribbeans. These people took over our lands, not only in America, but Papua New Guinea, Africa, Australia, the Pacific Islands, are the original home of people that look like us.
Before this nation was named, indigenous black peoples lived, built, and governed here. The great world's fairs were remnants of their cities. Across this nation once stood many centers of black commerce, not one Wall Street, but many. These communities were connected by trade, by innovation, by grand world fairs. They represented an older world still alive, and that continuity frightened those who sought control. So those centers were dismantled, their prosperity erased by the very forces that later claimed to civilize this nation. The word American describes the people of the copper-colored race. Its original heirs, the original nobility of this country, are the so-called black Americans. They are heirs to history's old...
That is how I see.
Well, that's why, if you really want to not offend people, stop calling people African Americans.
Yeah.
Use the word African, and you're insinuating 12.5% or higher African blood. There's a lot of black races. The Africans are the only ones that are fucked. The Moorish people, all these other cultures, all these other bloodlines that would never in a million years be classified as a Negro. It even says right in the definition, all colored people, Negroes are always colored people, but not all colored people are Negroes. Literally one of the definitions right out of the book. What that definition is referring to is there's a lot of black races that are not of African descent. When you say African American, you're saying persons. You're calling them a persons. We think that's friendly. We think that's kind. And we don't realize that we're essentially insinuating that they are a released slave of African descent. And we're insinuating they are a persons and not a people. I mean, I wonder if you'd have more standing as neither than you would as a persons. Like, if I wasn't a free white man and I had to choose between being a persons or being just like nothing, I'd almost say like, I'd rather be stateless or have nothing than be a persons, than be an African. Let's say a real dark-skinned Brazilian person, you know. What is their bloodline? What is their... certain Indian tribes have very dark skin. There were people who were here in America even before us that had dark skin, and they're out in the sun all the time, or what? Who knows what? And they look even darker than they really are. All Negroes are colored people, but not all colored people are Negroes.
So, escaping that matrix, learning, conditional acceptance, learning, whatever. There's so many areas to really sink your teeth into.
Go back to your country. Go back to your country, Black Americans. Black Americans do not have culture. Black Americans do not know where they come from. Why would Black Americans lie that they are the indigenous people? Why would Black Americans open their mouth to say they built America? Why is all of that happening? In fact, Black Americans, go back to your country. These are the words of immigrants. These are the words from white folks to Black Americans. These are the words to people that so want to argue with their computer to Black Americans. There is nothing Black Americans have said that is correct. Black Americans have said it countless times that they are the indigenous people in America. But a lot of people will argue with them. Why would they argue with them? Because yes, it is not a white man that will come on their screen to tell them. Today you have seen it that even a white man have to confirm it. Even a white man have to confirm it. He said it, I'm not the one that say it. You can hear from this video, you can go back and play it. And this is majorly for a lot of people, the white folks, the immigrants that always disrespect Black Americans, that always make it look like Black Americans are always the problem, knowing fully well that you are the problem. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. With that being said, let's continue rolling out this clip, and I'll be back with commentaries. For disclaimers, this is just for educational purpose. Let's go watch, guys, and let me know what you think, your honest opinion in the comment section. Let's go.
A 10 to 20 year plus plan that when you think of reconstruction. And so with that in mind, you have folks who, I'll start first, who said, Cube, why are you putting Native Americans in here? Why isn't this just for Black people?
Well, Black people are Native Americans. You know, we've had, you know, a lot of proof that, you know, some of us started here in this land. Everybody wasn't brought over from Africa. So, you know, we have to, like you say, unpack all of that and try to, you know, find the true lineage of people in this country, because some, you know, I used to tease family members who would say, you know, I got a little Indian in me. I would think they didn't want to be all the way Black. But when I really do the research, a lot of them did have a little Indian in them. So, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, we want to be counted on all levels, not just, you know, through slave ships. Like I said, you know, we were here before Columbus. So a lot of us. And so we want to make sure that's included and not excluded.
How much more proof do we need? We have the receipts. We are the copper-colored American Indians. Let it be known worldwide.
Right here is brown. Okay? Brown. Our skin complexion. Brown. Copper. Right here. Brown. And it looks like us. In here, you see? Copper. You see the phenotype? Looks like us. Alright? In here, see? Brown. And it looks like us. Our phenotype, our hair, crown, feather headdress. Copper colored American Indians. Copper colored American Indians.
Black indigenous Americans, I want to show y'all something real quick. When the colonizers first came here to this country, they said the natives here were copper colored. I'm currently in Tract Supply and I'm buying some copper right now. And so when I talked to the tribal president of the Manatee over there in Rhode Island, she said, yeah, we were copper colored. This is copper. It's a copper pole. Copper ground wire. As you can see, I'm the color of copper. I'm the color of copper. In fact, the tribal president from the Manatee, her name is Miss Williams. She's one of my relatives. And she messaged me on Facebook a couple of days ago saying, hey, we have similar ancestors. Tribal president of an actual Indian tribe, one of the first tribes that the colonizers interacted with, told me that you're Indian. So understand something, when we say that there are copper colored Indians there, you just saw the actual color of copper.
Africans don't call themselves that because I know my tribe. I have my language. I have my region, my country, my whatever. Like me saying European American. I'm not European. I'm specifically Irish and German. But you can't say that. You are American. You're the original Americans. You know? Everyone else is immigrants. You can't even be called immigrants.
Yeah.
You know, you're originally American, and your culture is as close to being the indigenous culture of America as there can be without you being the indigenous people. You know, you're the indigenous people of the entity called America, called the United States of America. Everything else came from elsewhere. Your culture is the only one that came from right there, because you were cut off from everything else. You know, there's nobody else like that. There's nobody else like that.
You're not African. You've never been African. The truth is out. Now, if you just love Africa so much and you just can't let go, then God damn it, so be it, have at it. But what I ask you guys not to do is, if you're not going to accept it and do the research yourself, please don't hinder somebody else from figuring it out. What we don't realize as Black America is, once we get past all of these roadblocks, we'll start to see that America owes us more than what they can repay us. And the only reason they haven't paid us back is because we haven't figured it out.
People have extra copper in their body. The term black is not correct. The term melanated is much more accurate, because the more copper you have, the more melanin you'll have, and the more melanin you have, the more copper you have. Remember, copper is the #1 deficiency on the planet. Copper is responsible for thousands of different gene expressions and functions. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, look at these people, they're better than these white people. I'm just breaking down the biophysiological components of the truth here. And at the end of the day, the more copper we have, I mean, hypothetically speaking, the more I can't jump. I'm gonna leave it at that. But if I train myself, eventually, 6 months to a year, I'd be able to dunk and jump. It's just a fact that people who have more melanin or who are more melanated, they actually can have a larger muscular skeletal system compared to those who are less melanated. 9 out of 10 African Americans melanated individual who joined the SEALs training ended up sinking. This is from David Goggins, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And David Goggins would actually sink, and then somehow he taught himself to swim and float or whatever. So it doesn't mean that you're excluded, but just like we have to work for certain things to be able to jump, sometimes we also have to work to be able to navigate or swim through these obstacles. We're all the same at the end of the day, but some have been given a little bit more copper and melanin than others. This is going to have positive as well as some negative benefits depending on how you look at it. So if you didn't know the difference, and remember that the term race, it doesn't really exist. Okay? The term race did not come to existence until after the 1500s. And so this is why using the term white and black, it's not very accurate at all, and using those terms can kind of feed the beast system mentality, Babylon, confusion. Because according to the Bible, we're all brothers and sisters under Adam and Eve. Just because I have this color hair doesn't mean that I couldn't come from a black or a melanated copper-dense family. Recessive traits will pop up over time, but also so will dominant traits. Do you hear what I'm saying? If you go to Haiti, you'll see there's people who kind of look like me in dark families, and they kind of look out of place. But they come from the same mommy and daddy. Everything you've been taught has pretty much been a lie. Father, forgive us! Because the race has been made the race. Woo. Not the race. It's also why we ended up making y'all the Health Bible. Everything that you need to know is at jacobslink.com. Get healthy, well.
African Americans are not from Africa. Colored people, black people are not from Africa. We are not the same. We are the indigenous people of these lands, right? When Columbus came here, we were the people that he saw. Copper-colored people, twisted up hair, look just like me. But the thing is, a lot of people around the world are very upset of this revelation, which doesn't make sense. Because why do y'all always pick and choose when to be our enemy and when to not be our enemy? When we rapping and singing and dancing and playing basketball and football and baseball and all these other things, y'all love us. Oh my gosh, look at them. They're so great. Look at how they do it. Yeah, look at them dancing. But the moment we start speaking on how to better our people, better our communities, y'all turn against us. Y'all shut down. And that's not okay. Because one thing that I've learned in this life is all skin folk ain't kinfolk. We spend so much time blaming the natives, the Africans, the YT, this. Nah, how about we blame ourselves? Because you see, when I go outside, I'm not looking and ducking and dodging the YTs. I'm not looking and ducking and dodging the natives. I'm not looking and ducking and dodging the Africans. I'm looking and ducking and dodging my own people. So I'm not about to spend all my time arguing with these people on TikTok. Because down to the very fact of the matter, at the end of the day, when Chief Yasin needs something, or Chief Yasin is trying to make improvements, or when Chief Yasin's finally making progress, it's my own people who dookie on me, push me down, spit on me. My own people. So no, I'm not about to sit here and argue with these people. No, I argue with you, kinfolk. Get your stuff together. I'm holding you accountable. You responsible. Not these people. Welcome to that cookout.
So basically, Black Americans are really divided on our identity, where we come from, and so I just wanted to break it down and clarify it as much as possible so that we can kind of get a grip on what's happening. Black Americans can be broken down into 3 main groups. Number 1, I will say, is the Indigenous group. This is a very complex group. So I'm going to define this group as people who believe that Black Americans are not genetically African, basically that they are from here, like there were already Black people here. Some people in this group completely deny that there was ever an Atlantic slave trade. And then some believe that Africans already discovered America before the colonists did, so they were already here. But I feel like even with that, if you're saying that Black Americans are not genetically African, even if Africans came here first, we would still be genetically African, if that makes sense. I personally believe that most Black Americans are majority genetically African, and then we're mixed with white, and we're mixed with other things. And I think we're a lot less mixed with the indigenous people of this land than a lot of us like to think. And I feel like conversations with this group of people just isn't pleasant because I'm genuinely trying to understand like what they're talking about and where they get their information from, and I haven't gotten a clear explanation of what historical documentation that they're looking at to come to this conclusion. And a lot of the response I get when I ask is, oh, well, you can just Google it yourself. I'm trying to know where you're getting your information from. But usually I get met with a lot of anger and a lot of hate, so I don't really know what's going on there. I don't know if it's a psyop. I don't know what's happening in that camp. Another thing is when you ask like, okay, well, how do you know this? People say, oh, my grandmother or someone in my family told me that we are. And one, I think that, we've all had those people who might be more light-skinned, have a looser hair texture, and we're like, oh, why so-and-so? Why is their hair so loose? Why are they so light? And back in the day, your grandmother might have been like, oh, it's because we're Indian or we're Native American. But honestly, what if she got assaulted by a white man and she just didn't want to say it? Like, if we're being real, a lot of people saying like, oh, I have Native American in my family, but just because you have one relative, like generations back, doesn't mean that you are full-blooded Native American. You know what I mean? Like, even if you have a couple relatives who are, especially if you have to go like generations and generations back, that doesn't make you like Native American. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like when Hispanic people say I'm Black, but they're clearly like white, like they're mostly genetically white, but they might have one Black person in their lineage going back a couple generations. Like, just because you have one person in your family who might be one thing, that doesn't make you that, especially if you know your genetics is not reflecting that. But so that's that group. So group number 2 is Black people who believe that we are genetically African, right? Black people who believe that and are okay with that. Oh yeah, and a lot of people in the first group honestly like have, from what I've seen, have like a disdain toward Africans. Like, it's like a war or something going on between them. But yeah, so amongst the Black people who feel like Black people are genetically African, there's the African Americans who they just believe that they are African and American, and that's just kind of it from what I've seen. But I've seen some of them get offended at people like me who belong to the other subcategory within this group, which is Black Americans. I am way more comfortable calling myself a Black American. I acknowledge that I am majority genetically African. I do have some admixture. I know this And so we understand that, but we also understand that at this point, especially after centuries and centuries, Black people in America are so far removed from African culture that we've kind of created our own culture here in this land. And a lot of our culture has been heavily derived from African culture, of course, because that's where we're from and that's what we brought over here when we came from over there. But just due to our unique experience as a people in this country, and especially due to the fact that Africa is a whole continent, okay? There's multiple countries. So a lot of people, when they came over here, a lot of the Africans that came over here, they were coming from different countries, different tribes, speaking different languages. And so as a people, we're all mixed and meshed together. You can be Black, but when you do your DNA, you could have 10 different countries within you. So it's like, I think that's where the Black part comes in, but the American part comes in at due to the way how we have created our own culture, our own food, our own style, our own music, our own everything else. And so I feel like Black American is just like a more all-encompassing term. And I think it really speaks to our identity. And that's the category that I am most comfortable within. So I think the last category is the Hebrew Israelites. These are Black people who believe that African Americans or Black Americans in America are the descendants of the Israelites because they believe that we fall under the curses spoken about in Deuteronomy 28. With this, I feel like I used to subscribe to this a little bit, but it's like the more I think about it and the more I try to find research that backs this up. I mean, the Bible is all about genealogy. You know, they would trace, you know, they have whole books in the Bible where they're, you know, documenting people's lineage. So I mean, how could we really know if we really do descend from that specific line of people? I don't really know. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying, like, I haven't done the research to be able to confirm that, and I don't even know how you would go about that. But there's that, but there's also, like, I feel like it's valid for us to feel like we want to be validated and we want to be special. Black people in this country have been dehumanized and bullied and made to feel like crap about ourselves for many reasons and in various different ways and for a very long time. So I understand the need to feel special and chosen. And another thing that I would like to say is the Israelites were not white, so we're not going to do that. And that's another thing when we're talking about the indigenous people. Like, there are melanated indigenous people all over this world, and some of them are not African. They're from where they're from. So it's not to say that the Native Americans weren't Black or there weren't some that weren't Black, but I think us as a people, if we trace our genetics, we do come from Africa. So yeah, I do believe that the Israelites were melanated people. But to say that the African Americans here in this country at this time are those people, I don't know that. And some people might feel like it's an attack, but it's really not. And I just feel like I'm getting to a space where it's like, whether that's true or not, I am special and I am beautiful because I am God's chosen. God chose me, whether I'm literally an Israelite or I literally descend from an Israelite or not. You know, I'm a daughter of the King. He has chosen me and he loves me and cares for me every day. And my identity is not like rooted in having to justify myself. I feel like I already am. So like I said, I think a lot of us need to come to a place where whether we can justify who we are according to the world standards, we're justified through God, and that's all. We don't really need to add or take away from that. It just is what it is. So yeah, I think that's the three main basic groups of Black Americans and how we identify as a people. But let me know your thoughts.
I don't know about everybody else or anybody else's ancestry, but I knew it was going to rifle up some feathers whenever I said this, because anytime anyone tries to tell y'all the truth, y'all be up in arms and ready to fight back with lies the colonizers gave you. I have direct ancestry to the women who were a part of the Salem witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts, as well as direct ancestry to the women who were tested on for modern day gynecology in Mobile, Alabama. So yes, I'm 100% sure that this is our land and has always been our land, and we have always been here. Now they have mislabeled us, just like I said in the video, so that everybody else, other racial ethnicities and regional areas, can come over to this land and be perfectly okay with disrespecting the Aboriginal and true indigenous people of this land. They also been told y'all the pilgrims got here, we taught them our ways of life, and then they took our shit and decided to backstab us and set up their systems of how they have things today. They told you and gave you this whitewashed image of the Native Americans so that when people who are actually the true indigenous and Aboriginal inheritance of this land speak out and say, no, this is our land, this is our shit, we've been here for generations, we're the same people who've been enslaved as prisoners of war and have been fighting against these tactics of colonization since they got here. Are you sure about that? All of you started in Africa. And again, this is no disrespect to Africans who have their own rich cultural heritage, traditions, and way of life before imperialism and colonization has done to what it has done to modern day Africa today. But the Americans and the Native Americans that they've taught y'all are not who they told y'all to be. And I don't know why this is such a hard thing to believe. Look at the story Pocahontas. They flipped the script all on that. She was not a young woman who was in love with the colonizer. She was a child who was stolen and used as a sex slave for their own pleasure and kidnapped from her land at about the ages of 11 to 12. I don't know why this is so shocking. It's even down to the point where if you look anywhere further across all of the lands, no matter how far back you start digging, the skin tones are going to be more melanated, pigmented. Most of what we see in modern day society has been whitewashed because of their genetic preservation and their weird concept of trying to survive in genetic survival of their own people, not with the original inhabitants and true indigenous Aboriginal people of those lands. Look at what happened to Australia. Look at what happened to Asia. Look at what happened to North America, South America, all over the world. This has been happening. And it's not disrespectful to say, no, we're not African. We're not from there. That isn't for us. Those aren't our cultures. Because now we have people that we see here today as modern day Black Americans who won't connect with their ancestral lineage and birthright. That's what's getting stolen. That was the whole point of the video, was to connect with the ancestral spirits of the land who's rightfully yours. It's not that hard to understand. It's not that hard of a concept. It isn't to disrespect anybody else's race or ethnicity or cultural background. It's about honoring one's own. And if you don't believe me, y'all don't think that it's weird that Black Americans have been fighting this fight for so long. Anytime we have any sort of financial gain, economic gain, any type of foundational movement for ourselves, it gets burned down, it gets bombed down, it gets infiltrated. The people of this land are still to this day being murdered in cold blood and lynched every single day and disrespected. But God forbid we leave some ancestral offerings for our ancestors who fought and died and bled into this land and reclaim what is ours and has been stolen and disrespected by like everybody. It's not that hard to understand.
Black America, I need to talk to you. Every so often, we get them pulling us into that Africa theory. Every so often, they come on here to tell us that we African. They don't tell no other group, by and large, that they're Africans. They don't go to the islands and tell them people that. They don't go to South America and tell them people that. They don't go to the Black people in Mexico and tell them people that. They don't go nowhere else and tell the people that they African except here in America. The reason why is because these people want to make you confused about where your home is. See, if you believe your home is way over there, you won't pay attention to what they're doing to your home under your feet. So every so often they come out with these videos to pull you back in the Africa theme and that theory so that you can feel some type of way. It's about pulling on your heartstrings, pulling on your emotions. This is why I tell you guys all the time, in 2026, there is a big, huge time to be head over heart. All this time we've been heart over head and they done tore us up. It is time to start thinking and putting our emotions on the back burner, especially when it comes to this enemy. And the enemy ain't just clear.
Thousands of people cannot just come and lie. Thousands of people cannot just come and be like, oh, Black Americans actually, they are the indigenous. It is because it has been seen, it has been stated, it has been final. And there is nothing anybody can do about it. The problem I have majorly with people is they fail to do research. And that is why they can wake up every single time and throw shades to Black Americans. Just like the video I put up before, probably before this one. Haitian woman who came to America on Survivor. Just like other videos I've been doing as well. White folks who took everything, who stole everything, who colonized everything, who changed every single narrative, all because power was given to them. Just like those kind of videos. A lot of people will literally not think properly before you open your mouth to talk to Black Americans. And honestly, they have been proved over and over again that they are indigenous Americans, that we're in America even before everything started happening. That is why there is this white guy I love so much. Oh, I've forgotten his name. I love this white guy so much to the point that this white guy will literally tell white people to their face that they stole America. Like, once this guy is rooting, I've been able to stitch some of his video in some of my videos, even the one I did yesterday. The guy is good. He knows how to split out facts. But it baffles me more when I see Africans, immigrants that are hustling in America will not take their time to study American history, but we go ahead to keep condemning Black Americans. Make it look like their effort is waste. I've done a video where an African man literally told Black American woman that she's lazy. You live off my tax. If I don't pay tax, you don't get EBT. If I don't pay tax, you don't get food stamps. But at the end of the day, when the percentage and everything came out, when they were doing food stamp relief, like nobody's going to take food stamp again, the people that cried more were the white folks. So Black Americans have swallowed a lot of things that sometimes when I sit down, I ask myself, how are these people surviving? How are these people managing? How are these people coping with the kind of toxic environment they find themselves, where every single race wants to throw shades, every single race wants to throw hate, every single race wants to talk down on them, every single race wants to make them see reasons why Black Americans can never be chosen. And I've come into the conclusion that it is because Black Americans, despite everything, they have been great. Despite everything, they've been Western strong. Despite everything, they've been building. Despite everything, they've been living the life that they're supposed to live. Despite every single oppression, they've been doing and becoming millionaires, becoming billionaires, becoming trillionaires. They've been shaping the world and making out history. So the next time you sit down there or you open your mouth to tell Black Americans, go back to your country. What is your culture? You literally do not have a culture, blah, 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 east, west, north, and south. Have it at the back of your mind that Black Americans are not to be tampered with. That Black Americans gave you all of that opportunity, including white folks. I'm not even saying this one just for immigrants, including white people. Black Americans gave you all of that opportunity because your fellow white man also said it. And in case you didn't hear it very well, listen this time around.
Before this nation was named, indigenous Black peoples lived, built, and governed here. The great world's fairs were remnants of their cities. Across this nation once stood many centers of Black commerce, not one Wall Street, but many. These communities were connected by trade, by innovation, by grand world fairs. They represented an older world still alive, and that continuity frightened those who sought control. So those centers were dismantled, their prosperity erased by the very forces that later claimed to civilize this nation. The word American describes the people of the copper-colored race. Its original heirs, the original nobility of this country, are the so-called Black American. They are heirs to history's old... That is how I see.
So for those of you that will always say, why not identify with Africans? Why are you denying your roots? Your roots remain in Africa and trace it very well. You are from Africa. Shut up. Shut up. They know where they are from. Anything they choose to identify is their business and not yours. They are indigenous, they are foundational, and that remains it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do what? Subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. Let me know your honest opinion in the comment section. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.